My parents said they didn't have space for me and the kids this Christmas. But later, my sister posted a picture with 3 extra guests and a dog wearing reindeer antlers. I snapped a photo of their gifts still in my trunk and sent it. Mom called over and over, 26 missed calls in minutes. When my mom said they didn't have space for me and the kids this Christmas, I laughed. I thought she was joking. My sister lives 10 minutes away with her 2 dogs, her boyfriend, and that creepy friend of his who always smells like weed and vinegar. And somehow there's always space for them. But for me and my 2 kids, no room. I asked if maybe we could come after dinner or the next day. Mom said it'd be too chaotic, too many people, not enough chairs. She even threw in something about her lower back pain acting up and how she couldn't handle the stress. This was 2 weeks before Christmas. I got off the phone, sat on the couch, and stared at the wall, while my youngest, Ava, asked me if she should pack her little snowman sweater. It hit me then. This was the first Christmas we weren't invited. I didn't tell the kids. I told them Grandma was going on a trip this year and we'd do something cozy at home. I still bought everyone gifts, though. For my parents, my sister, her boyfriend, even the guy who smells like expired Subway. I don't know why. I think I hadn't fully accepted it yet. I still hoped someone would call and say it was all a misunderstanding. They didn't. Christmas Eve, I packed the gifts neatly into the trunk, wrapped, labeled, even a bow on each one. We watched movies, made pancakes for dinner, and the kids were happy. I tried to be, but Christmas morning, I opened Instagram. I wasn't looking for anything. I swear I wasn't. And there was a photo my sister posted. The dining table was packed, full spread. Turkey, stuffing, 5 types of wine, the expensive kind Dad pretends to hate but drinks. Anyway, around the table sat my sister, her boyfriend's 2 friends, one I didn't even recognize, a woman in a Santa dress, and a golden retriever wearing reindeer antlers. No room, huh? I stared at the photo. Then I stared at the gifts in my trunk. Then I took a picture of those gifts and sent it in the family group chat with one sentence. Looks like I misunderstood what you meant by no space. I put my phone down. I didn't want to see the replies, but I didn't expect what happened next. Within minutes, my phone started buzzing over and over. First Mom, then Dad, then Mom again. I glanced once and saw 26 missed calls in less than 10 minutes. I didn't pick up. This was the moment something cracked. Not broke, cracked, because breaking would have meant I was done right then. But I wasn't. Not yet. But I was close. I finally answered around 9 p.m. Not because I wanted to hear anyone's voice, but because curiosity got the better of me. I needed to hear how far my own mother was willing to twist reality. She jumped in right away. No pause, no breath. She claimed she didn't know my sister would be bringing guests, said she had no idea it would turn into a full dinner party, that she thought it would just be quiet, just the household. She sounded like she was reading a script, one she hadn't rehearsed enough. She went on about how overwhelmed she was this season, how things slipped through the cracks. Then she said something that made my hand clench around the phone. You could have at least dropped the gifts off. The kids would have loved to open something from their aunt. That's what she had to say to me. Not sorry, not we should have made room, not we missed you. Just a complaint that the gifts she didn't even know existed didn't make it under the tree. I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I just pressed the red button and stared at my reflection in the dark kitchen window. She didn't call back. Neither did my sister. But around 11, my dad sent a text. Don't let one misunderstanding ruin the family. That word, misunderstanding. Like I misheard her when she said there wasn't space. Like I imagined the picture of a dog in a Christmas sweater at the head of the table. Like I was being dramatic again, which is what they always say when they don't want to deal with how they've treated me. But this wasn't about a single photo or one holiday. It was about every year I kept my mouth shut. Every year I showed up early to help Mom cook, only to be told to go sit down while my sister rolled in late with bakery cupcakes and got praised for saving the day. Every year my kids got dollar store coloring books while my niece opened her second pair of AirPods. Every time they forgot Ava's birthday until the last minute and then blamed me for not reminding them. I've loaned them money more times than I can count, paid their electric bill twice this year alone, bought my dad a new tire when he said he couldn't drive to work, covered part of my sister's rent once, and they didn't even thank me, just told me it's what family does. But somehow we weren't worth 2 chairs. I didn't sleep much that night. I sat in the living room scrolling through years of texts, photos, receipts. I opened my bank account and looked at how much I'd sent them over the last 3 years. Made my stomach turn. Thousands. I made a note on my phone titled, "What They Took." Not just money, time, emotional energy, things I let slide for the sake of keeping things together, for the sake of peace. But what peace was I keeping? My kids were being pushed further out every year while I stood there holding the door open. The next morning, I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I made pancakes, drank my coffee in silence, and while the kids played with their new toys, I opened my laptop and canceled the automatic transfers I'd set up to help my parents with bills. No more money, no more rides, no more rescuing. They made their choice. Now I'm making mine. I don't know what next Christmas will look like, but I can tell you this. It won't include begging for a seat at a table I'm not welcome at. A few days after Christmas, I got a voicemail from my sister. I hadn't blocked her yet, and I guess she thought maybe I'd calm down. She didn't apologize. She didn't even mention the photo. She just said, "I don't know what kind of drama you're trying to stir, but it's not fair to Mom and Dad. They've done so much for you." I listened to the message twice, then deleted it. Because here's the thing. For years, I've been the one keeping this family functioning. I drove my mom to appointments when my sister had plans. I watched her kid more times than I can count, including overnight while she went on spontaneous trips. I bought groceries when the fridge was empty, covered gaps in rent, and filled in the blanks whenever their poor planning caught up with them. But I never said anything. I kept it quiet because I didn't want to seem ungrateful. I didn't want to be the problem. And I told myself I could take it. I told myself it didn't really matter if they forgot my birthday, if they skipped Ava's recital, if they never once offered to help with back-to-school shopping. I thought I was being strong. But somewhere along the way, being strong turned into being a doormat. And I think they counted on that. When Ava asked if we were going to Grandma's for New Year's like usual, I told her no. She didn't cry, but she looked confused. Why not? I didn't give her details. I just told her we were going to do something different this year, just us. We ended up doing a little bonfire in the backyard with marshmallows and silly hats from the dollar store. I let them stay up way too late. At midnight, we yelled out our goals for the year. Mine was simple: protect my peace, protect my kids. The next week, Mom called again. This time, she left a voicemail crying, said she missed the kids, that she didn't understand why I was being so cold. That family is supposed to forgive and forget. That part got me, because the truth is, I did forgive, over and over. I forgave being overlooked. I forgave the way they made my kids feel less than. I forgave the way my sister borrowed money and never paid it back and then acted like I was lucky to be included in anything. I forgave every time they forgot about us or made jokes at my expense or told me I was too sensitive when I tried to stand up for myself. But what I'm not doing anymore is forgetting. I'm not forgetting that my daughter came to me with her snowman sweater, excited to see her grandparents, and I had to lie to protect her from rejection. I'm not forgetting that they had room for strangers and a dog, but not for their own family. I'm not forgetting the silence when I sent that picture of the gifts in my trunk. This isn't about holding a grudge. This is about finally learning what happens when you stop trying to earn love that should have been given freely. For once, I'm not this bad guy in the story. I'm the one who finally saw the truth and decided my kids deserve better. They still think I'll come around, that I'll cool off like I always do. They don't realize I'm already gone. It was mid-January when the letter came. A real physical letter. My name was written on the envelope in my dad's handwriting, shaky like always. No return address, just a simple postmark from a town near where they live. It didn't feel like an apology. It felt like bait. Inside was a single page, not typed, handwritten, and that made it weirder. He started with something about how family disagreements have always blown over and how stubbornness hurts everyone. Then, like he couldn't help himself, he went in. If something happens to us, he wrote, we've made changes to the will. Your sister will be the point of contact for all assets and property moving forward. We just didn't want there to be confusion later. Hope you understand. That was it. I read it 3 times. Not because I cared about the will. I honestly didn't. But because of how casually they used it, like a warning, like a parent telling a child, be good or no dessert. And it hit me harder than I expected. They really think I need them. That if they dangle inheritance over my head, I'll fold like I always have. They don't understand that after everything, the last thing I want is to be tied to anything with their name on it. But what really got me wasn't the will. It was what happened later that week. I was out grocery shopping when I saw my niece, my sister's daughter, alone at the store entrance, just sitting on the bench by the cart, swinging her legs, no coat on, cheeks red from the cold. I thought maybe she was waiting with someone, but no one else was around. I sat next to her and asked where her mom was. She said, "Inside. She told me to wait here." 15 minutes passed. Plenty. I ended up walking her back inside and found my sister at the self-checkout, scanning a full cart like nothing was wrong. She didn't even look surprised. "She didn't want to come in," she muttered. Like that excused it. She saw me staring. "Don't start. I was watching from the window." The girl had been sitting there for nearly half an hour in 30-degree weather. No coat, no supervision. And I realized something I hadn't let myself admit before. My kids weren't just being excluded, they were being protected. Because that kind of carelessness wasn't new. I just hadn't seen it from the outside before. On the drive home, I couldn't stop shaking. Not from anger, but from how close I'd come to letting these people continue shaping my children's view of love, of safety, of what family is supposed to mean. Later that night, I pulled out the plastic bin where I'd kept old birthday cards, drawings the kids had made for Grandma, printed photos. I threw out everything that had their names on it. Not out of spite, just out of necessity. I needed a clean break, and I wasn't going to create a shrine to people who couldn't make room at a table but had the nerve to weaponize a will. I didn't tell anyone about the letter. I didn't respond. Let them figure out I got it. Let them wonder why I didn't call. They wanted to play games with death and inheritance? Fine. By February, the silence from my side must have started to feel permanent, because that's when they switched tactics. At first, it was subtle. A tag from my mom on Facebook with an old picture of the kids at her house, captioned, "Miss those little faces." I didn't respond. Then my dad commented on one of my photos, "Family is forever, even if you're mad." So I stayed quiet. Then came the phone calls. Not from them. No, they were done being direct. They started using people. My cousin Emily called out of nowhere, asking if everything was okay. She never calls. Then my aunt. "I don't want to get involved, but your mom's heart is breaking." I almost laughed. These people had the nerve to say I was tearing the family apart, like I hadn't spent years trying to keep it together while being treated like a backup plan. Then came the call I didn't expect. It was Ava's school. The front office said someone claiming to be her grandmother had tried to drop off a Valentine's Day gift bag for her. They thought it was sweet until they checked the emergency contact list and saw I hadn't authorized any pickups or drop-offs by that person. They held the bag at the front desk. It was full of candy, glittery socks, and a note that said, "Even when Mommy's mad, Grandma still loves you." I sat in the car staring at that note for a long time. That was it. That was the moment I knew they weren't just being selfish. They were actively trying to manipulate my children, trying to create cracks between us. They didn't just want to be forgiven. They wanted control again. So I called the school and updated all contact permissions. I blocked my mom's number, my sister's, my dad's. I sent one message to the family group chat and then left it for good. "Please respect our space. Do not contact me or my children. Any attempts to go around me will be considered harassment. This is your only warning." Then I deleted the chat, not out of rage, not to make a point, to move on. The next weekend, we went to a cabin in the mountains. Just me, Ava, and James. Snow, board games, hot cocoa. No drama, no walking on eggshells, no guilt. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The night before we left, Ava asked if we could make this a new tradition. She said we could call it the Quiet Weekend. I told her we absolutely could, because this year I wasn't chasing anyone. I wasn't begging for inclusion. I wasn't patching up other people's messes while mine were ignored. I was done, and they knew it. The first real sign they finally realized I wasn't coming back came in March. It was a Sunday morning. James was on the living room floor building a Lego rocket and narrating it like a space launch. Ava was painting at the kitchen table with her tongue slightly out in concentration. I was sitting by the window with hot coffee, fresh, not reheated, and a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. Then I saw the email. It came from the old shared family account, one we used years ago to coordinate birthdays and holidays before everyone had a smartphone. The subject line was just so you know. Inside were 4 photos of my parents' house. The first was the living room, bare, no spring decorations, no centerpiece on the coffee table. The second showed the spot where the big TV used to be. The third was a shot of my dad's old recliner, broken down and taped at the seams. The fourth was the kicker, a wide angle of the guest bedroom. My sister's clothes were all over the bed, suitcases, laundry baskets. She'd clearly moved in. At the bottom, a single line. Your sister's staying here for now. Things have been tough. We miss the kids. No hi, no how are you, no we're sorry. Just an emotional landmine buried in a 4-photo guilt trip. I didn't reply. I closed the email and went back to my coffee. A few days later, Emily messaged me again on Instagram. Don't shoot the messenger, but your mom told Aunt Carol they're drowning. Your sister's not paying rent. Your dad's been sick. They thought you'd have softened by now. Like I was supposed to rush in. Like I was supposed to watch them treat my kids like backup guests, treat me like a resource, then fall back into line once they couldn't manage their own lives. But something had shifted in me. I wasn't holding on to anger anymore. I had just moved on. Instead of spiraling, I filed my taxes early, got a decent refund, and used it to upgrade our apartment. Nothing huge, but bigger bedrooms, a balcony, a washer and dryer that didn't steal socks. I let the kids help decorate their rooms. Ava got her own little art table. James picked out a glow-in-the-dark solar system for the ceiling. Then something else happened, something unexpected. My manager pulled me into her office one Friday and said she'd been watching me for months, how consistent I was, how I handled pressure, how I'd stopped shrinking myself. She offered me a promotion. Not just a title change, real money, real respect. I said yes without asking anyone's permission. With the raise, I opened savings accounts for both kids. I didn't put in much, but it was a start. I told them it was for their future, and they didn't fully get it, but I did. For the first time, I was building something for us that no one could touch. By April, the calls and messages had stopped completely. My mom disappeared from Facebook. My dad's page was quiet. My sister posted a picture of her car with a flat tire and captioned it, "This year is cursed." I stared at it for a minute, then I scrolled past. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel pity. I felt free. We've got a trip planned now, nothing fancy. A small cabin by a lake for 3 days. I booked it without asking anyone if the dates worked. Ava already picked out which swimsuits to bring. James said he's going to catch a fish as big as his leg. This will be our first holiday with no guilt, no expectations, no side comments. Just us. They thought I was going through a phase, that I was punishing them, that I'd cool down and crawl back like I always did. They didn't realize I wasn't trying to teach them a lesson. I was writing a new story, and in this one, they're not in the next chapter.